see just what happens. It's going to be beautiful, people. So let's have a little look at remote support. So well done. No shirt today for me, for sure. Okay, so today we're basically going to be chatting about remote access. So understanding how and why we'd use remote access, the tools we use, remote meetings, which is definitely becoming part of our life nowadays, isn't it? And we're going to have a few post-session tasks. We're going to have a little look at a few things in terms of alternatives. So what is remote access? Remote access is a general concept. It's just what it says on the tin. It is accessing a system from a remote location. Doesn't have to be a remote location, just has to be somewhere else. So you're not at the physical keyboard, you're not at the monitor, you are remotely accessing this. There are lots of tools in the market nowadays. We have done an awful lot more of this since COVID because, of course, we had to be socially distances. And we can do this for support as well as for configuration products. So we can basically look after our servers remotely, which is something we've been doing for a while. We'll have a chat about some of those protocols that we use. We kind of break it in as well as remote assistance. So remote assistance is products such as our Team Viewer, our Microsoft Teams, our Google Meets, our LogMe. LogMeIn is an old product I used to use years ago, and Zoho. Crikey, that's good. Assist. So these different products are all out there that we can use to remotely assist someone. So these are used by help desks to help their users. You phone up. It is so much easier to provide support if you can actually see what it's doing. Perhaps just it's okay if you're a couple of minutes late to actually see what we are doing, or what the other person is doing the other side. I'll give you a good example. Before we had remote support, well, you know, in the days when I was young, about that high, I used to work at Microsoft, and it was all done via telephone. So we couldn't see what the user would do. So we had, during our interview process, we had a very common test that we would use. And what we would simply do is we'd get the candidate in, we'd sit them on a chair, and then we'd sit someone else behind them on another chair. So they're back to back, essentially looking out from a different direction. And we'd hand them both a matchbox full of matches, little shape matchbox full of matches. And we'd give it to them, and we'd simply say to the person who was coming in to get the job, we'd say, okay, describe to the person that you cannot see how to strike a match. Okay, and you can imagine, yeah, okay, it's easy. If you can see the matchbox, that's dead easy, isn't it? You know, you push out the matchbox, you take a match out, you strike it. But then, of course, if you realize all of a sudden that that person doesn't quite understand the language you're talking, or understands the language, but doesn't quite understand some of the terminology you're using, and can't actually see what you're doing. So you can imagine, as soon as someone said, well, you just push the middle of the matchbox out, you can see the other person at the other side going, well, hold on, I've just got all the matches on the floor now. So what do I do? Because they didn't have the matchbox the right way up. Okay, when you're talking about striking it, well, which end do you strike? How do you hold the match? Oh, I've just burnt my fingers because I've just been striking it. It's lit and my fingers are too close. So it's totally different. If you can see what they're doing and you can see them striking a match and they're really close, you go, hold on, move your fingers further down the stick so that then you don't burn yourself when you're doing it. Okay, so it's so much easier to do remote assist nowadays with these particular products, and you can actually look at what they are doing. Has anyone really had some experience of remote assist products they fancy sharing in the chat window? And I use it. I use it with my dad and my daughter all the time. Team Viewer, good top one. Team Viewer, certainly. Team Viewer and Bomgar. I've not used Bomgar. That sounds like it'll be a Linux style one, is it? And see Alan typing there. That's good, and a couple of others typing. Oh, web-based, basically internal for Amazon. And the water today, it's so hot outside. You think so, yeah? TeamViewer from Fintan. TeamViewer is certainly very popular. Fujitsu's use TeamViewer as well. So yeah, so we're getting a lot of votes for TeamViewer. Strangely enough, TeamViewer is an amazing product, and we might have a little look at it later on, which is good. But as I say, there is lots of them out there. Even Google Chrome. There's Chrome Remote Assist or Remote Desktop. That simply means all you both have is Google Chrome installed in your machine. I use that basically for my daughter, which is fantastic. Certainly when she's up in Nottingham at university, she's having trouble with her numbers and things like that. She can give me a bell and I can actually look at the spreadsheets she's doing, and it's fun. It's fun. Yeah, it's much easier to explain. Kibitsu basically says there, yeah, much easier to explain when you can actually see what they're doing. And you can take information you need, so you can drive it. Some of these will allow you to take over control. We'll have a further chat along these lines. Well, let's have a little glance at what's a support team. Okay, support teams that use these, things like customer support, which helps customers resolve issues and transfer things. You know, we spoke about these people basically having the ticketing system. And indeed, along with the ticketing system, potentially will come a remote assist software on there. We can refer to these teams basically as help desk, but in general, it can be anyone that will use it. Help desk, technical support, customer support, basically diving in when it's necessary to give the customer a hand. Now, we'll show you some expanded stuff. I think I've got a beautiful video later on that will show you some expanded stuff, what we can and can't do with these products, and it tends to blow my mind every time I look at the thing, but we'll have a look later. So when do you request remote access? It's important that we bear in mind there are security issues and there are security risks in terms of sharing your stuff. You need to make sure that when you are allowing someone to get access to your system, that you do know who they are. There's a regular scam that's out where people basically phone up and they say, oh, well, Microsoft, we've noticed a massive issue with your machine. If we don't get on within the next 10 minutes and help you fix these particular problems, you're going to face a massive fine. Okay, and they will try to get you to accept the remote assist from them. And all they're simply going to do is go onto your system, strip all the data they fancy out of it, all your personal data, all your banking details, and then basically drop a virus on there. Okay, so go careful in terms of who you basically have it. Well, we can use it. Common some areas are things like troubleshooting technical issues, software installations and configurations, training guides, products such as remote assist, that are the more detailed and the higher end of things, will actually allow you to push applications onto the system as well as files. So it's not just a case of helping the person and going, oh yeah, move the mouse a bit to the right, move the mouse a bit to the left. It's a, yeah, great, I'll just drop these files onto your system, or I'll just transfer over this application that you can use. And it can be used for all sorts of things along those sort of lines. Mainly it's configuration and customization and basically helping them understand what they're doing. So we can actually offer this a lot through things such as our video conferencing systems. Yeah, we know full well that things like Google Hangouts, Google Meets, Zoom, Microsoft Teams essentially has a remote assist system. I know full well if I'm in something like Microsoft Teams and someone is demoing something, there's an option to let me drive. So they may open a spreadsheet and be clicking through a few things, and then I can go, hold on, what about this row? Or what do you mean, Dave? And I'll go, well, just let me take control, let me drive. And they'll go, okay, here you go. And I drive their system for a bit, okay, to help us basically understand things. So it is great for communication and collaboration. And this is really what we're doing it for. So why do we use remote access? Okay, remote access is different from remote assist, because with remote access, we're just gaining direct access to the operating system. Okay, so it'll be things such as operating system support, moving files, changing items on there. You can do it for application support, training, and presentations. So we see all that items basically happening, don't we? So who remembers these protocols from years ago? Years ago, it feels like we did them ages ago, the networks. RDP, SSH, and remote control. Let's have a thumbs up if anyone actually remembers that. I know these are quite strange ones. I'll tell you what, there's a bonus bag of sweets if anyone can tell me what network port they're using for any of these. Let's see if anyone's that good. Alan's used them before. Marcos has definitely used SSH. SSH 80. It's not quite 80, is it, for SSH? But a good guess. I like people that guess. Alan wins the bucket of sweets. 22. SSH runs on port 22 on our protocols. Thank you very much. Okay, so you've used some of these before, which is great. Okay, but there are differences between the two. Okay, we know their ability to basically to take control of the computer system. SSH is a secure shell. RDP is a remote desktop protocol. Okay, it is basically an application that's used by support team. We use this all the time to manage our servers. Generally, if you are going to a Windows-based server, you will use RDP. I very much use the word generally. And if you're basically accessing a Linux box or Unix system or Mac, you will use SSH. Now, there are some differences between it. Let's have a look at the differences. The interface is probably the first thing you will actually notice when you do the two. Okay, RDP gives you the rich graphical user interface. Okay, remember with these protocols, you're actually logging on to the system when you connect across. So I'm not sharing the screen that the other person is doing, mainly if we talk about servers here. What I'm doing is I'm logging onto the server as myself. So underlying, I've got another user that's logged on, no screen, no monitor, that basically comes across to me. So with RDP, I will get a rich graphical user interface. It will be just exactly the same as if I physically walk up to the machine, plug a monitor and a keyboard in, and log on to the machine. So I can basically do everything that I would do from that keyboard. SSH gives you a command line interface. Okay, so why do we have the two difference? SSH is obviously lighter in terms of protocols because you're not transferring a graphical user interface across. But it does then mean you're basically doing everything from the command line. How many people love doing things from the command line? We love doing them if we've got some scripts. So with SSH, quite commonly, I will connect to a server via SSH. I will run a scripted SSH command set across. That will then reconfigure that machine and I can cut myself off. Okay, and that can take moments. Whereas if I do it with RDP and I'm doing it with a graphical user interface, of course, I'm driving the mouse about. I'm clicking on things, which we all know is a little bit slower than just simply running a script that does it. As I said, the operating system compatibility primarily used on Windows systems. Yeah, there's no reason I can't run RDP. I can load an RDP client onto my Linux box and simply talk RDP across my Linux box. Bang, exactly the same. We can do that. And I can also use SSH to Windows machines. But primarily, it tends to be used for Linux, Unix, the Mac OSs. Can use it for Windows? Yeah, why not? So performance. May provide faster connections to Windows systems with RDP? Yeah, probably. And SSH requires a lower bandwidth because we're not passing the graphical user interface across there. The graphics are big, chunky. We're simply passing a beautiful stream of commands across and we get answers back. So it's very similar to your command prompt is what you're running. So RDP is basically a proprietary protocol developed by Microsoft. So they kind of developed it to allow them to do it. As I say, it uses a graphical user interface. RDP is encrypted. So it's important that things are encrypted because we don't want this traffic and this communication getting intercepted. Okay, it uses RC4 encryption, which is a fantastic encryption key. It is between 40 and 128-bit encryption. Okay, that's pretty tight in general. Not as good as a 256, but it is pretty tight. So there are criticisms. Sometimes they kind of go, it's not quite as secure as SSH. So there are some security worries. Not really. They say there is, but in general, there isn't a massive security worries about it. But as I say, it is potential because it is a lower encryption rate, because it's an older technology. It's not an older technology because it's a lower encryption rate, that there could be some security issues. All customers are going to be a bit sensitive about their data, so we are all concerned about our data privacy. So should I let someone connect with RDP? Because when you connect to RDP, you are allowing them to log on to that machine. Now, the important thing with both of these is that you can only log on to those machines if they're server machines if you have an account. I can't use RDP to log on to a Windows server if I'm not a valid account holder on that server. So someone would have had to create a individual user on that server that is David Tomkinson and provided me with the password to allow me to connect through. Now, obviously, when we're talking about servers, most of this is done through Active Directory users and computers. And we simply give me, person running the IDP, the right to log on to all the servers. So we smash the servers into a group. We put me into a group of users that says this guy can log on to all these servers as an administrator, essentially. So I might have an administrative account if that's my job. So that's where the access control basically comes in via individual user logons. Be aware, most firewalls are set to block RDP communications. So when you first install your server and you kind of go, oh yeah, I'm just going to RDP across to it, you potentially need to go to that server, check its firewalls and unblock the RDP communication protocol. Otherwise, you'll sit there banging your head against the wall. Trust me, I did it, you know, when I was first doing this, I did it for hours and hours, banging my head against the wall, going, why can't I connect via RDP? Everything's set up, everything's right. And it was very simply the firewall stepping in, going, no, I don't want you to RDP, because it's a security hole. Okay, so if you run things such as your security analytics, your penetration testing that we spoke about, if the RDP port is open, that can be a fail on a pen testing. Any questions about that? We'll have a little chat about security. I think next slide's kind of a bit chunked up, isn't it? Yeah. Or the chunking up of the slide on the left-hand side, but different resolution today. So it's dropped a few of the slides slightly. So for security, of course, we are dealing with implementing strong security things. There's a good question from Majelsh there. How many different users can log on remotely to one PC? Well, this is where it gets fun, isn't it? If you are dealing with a server, then it's as many as you allow on that server. When you set up the RDP protocol on that server, you can limit the number of users that can log on to that machine. And indeed, if you've heard of something called remote desktops and remote desktop users, that's what they're doing. They're simply limiting the number of users that can log on to that server. When you're talking about a PC, how many people can log on to that PC is normally just one. The other user will get kicked off of a PC because the architecture is not there, the software is not there. So if you basically have, if for example, I'm using my laptop and someone wants to RDP across to my laptop, I'll get a little pop-up message saying, this guy wants to log onto your machine. And if I say yes, it'll blank my screen out because essentially it doesn't log me off, but it basically closes me down, just like when you go into hibernation, and that other person will then get access to it. So generally, for RDP, we are talking about one for a PC architecture and as many as you kind of want for a server one. Okay, I normally set the access limit for servers at about 4 because I know as soon as I got more than 4 people playing with the server, what are they all doing playing with the server? Surely there's one person being told to upgrade this server or made the modifications. No one's told 4 people to do it. Okay, that tends to be a bit crazy, and that's, you know, one of those little black holes you get into, isn't it? Very good question there. Thank you very much. Keep those coming. Did that answer that question, first of all? Should always check that, shouldn't I? So, access controls. Data privacy we have to be careful about, and firewall configurations. So what is TeamViewer? Okay, TeamViewer is a beautiful remote desktop application, isn't it? We will probably have a look at TeamViewer. I'm not sure when the demo is in the slides, but I'm sure we'll run into it soon. TeamViewer basically allows us to do the remote stuff. Remote support, remote desktop, online meetings, presentations, file transfers, cross-platform. The good thing about TeamViewer, cross-platform, we don't care if you're running Linux, Mac OS, or you're running a Windows operating system. Okay, which is ideal for that sort of environment, isn't it? Now that we don't care so much what operating system we're running, it's great, isn't it? As we said, there are plenty of software alternatives. You know, you yourself named a few. Ninja One is an IT management platform, simplifies the way IT teams work through the workflow. Jump Cloud is another one that's great for identifying devices. AnyDesk provides fast and easy, secure solutions for remote support. GoTo Resolve, I've heard of GoTo My Mac and things like that are on there as well. GoTo Resolve is basically an all-in-one IT management and support solution, helping IT desks basically getting things done. So there is lots of different alternatives out there. When you are looking at these, we need to consider the technical challenges that are up there. Okay, can these items basically be, you know, do they tick all the boxes that we literally want? Do they allow us to do effective communication? Is it lightweight enough? Does it use remote desktop tools, preparation, documentation? So there are some technical challenges that you basically will have when you start considering which one of these ones to use. Won't go through those in a massive details, we'll just skim over some of those. So whenever you remember you are accessing people's computers, a bit like when we talked about on Wednesday, didn't we? If you are seeing things on customers' computers, you have to go careful about it. So customers need to be careful about data encryption. So we need to make sure we employ good encryption. We need to make sure we have good access control and authentication. So strict controls about who can and can't do things such as RDP across to some of our servers. And we need to have things such as regular audits and training. You can remote wake a PC. Now check, a lot of PCs nowadays have network cards that support what's known as wake up online. And this definitely works for servers as well as PCs. Macintoshes definitely have them. Sorry, Apple Macs do have them. The majority of server systems do have it. PCs depend on the network card that you basically have it. The network card must support wake up online. You need to enable it in the BIOS. UEFI, I think, has it enabled by default. Potentially, you might need to drop into the BIOS and have a quick look to enable that. Yes. I'm going with a yes on that because there's many different BIOSes out there. Okay, but definitely if you've got UEFI, I think it's enabled by default. It does depend on the NIC that you've got in there, so it could be a NIC restriction as well, but definitely on the BIOS you can have a look. We talked about sensitive data. We've got to remember that ethical thing for us, haven't we? Okay, so we've got to remember there's ethics involved. If we are basically remoting onto a client's machine, a customer's machine, we need to make sure we are in that position of trust. Okay, so we've got to go careful what we access. We've got to, you know, close one eye and ignore those things we shouldn't actually have seen by accident. And we've got to make sure we get proper authorization to do it. Okay, and make sure that we protect all that private data. Remember I said yesterday, you've got to let the customer know. You've got to say, look, I'm going to remote across to your system now and expect it. So there was due to be an exercise in Codio to use TeamViewer. We are going to skip this out because there were some problems with the Codio exercise that we have. But I believe, Ragib, are you willing to do a demonstration now of TeamViewer? I'm hoping he's going to come on and say yes.
Oh, I'll try my best.
Try your best on that. It's going to be amazing. I'm going to stop sharing. Ragib's going to take control. He's going to drive you through a little remote session.
Right. Okay. You guys see my screen? Okay, cool. All right. Yeah, as David was saying, so I'm on a Mac and I have TeamViewer installed, and this is like a desktop that I have, and it has TeamViewer installed. As you can see, it's a Windows, and this is a Mac. So I just want to show you guys. Some of you guys have already said that you do have some experience using it, but just want to show you how the connection generally works. So this is basically a free license, of course. So there's a lot of restrictions on what we can do and what we can't do. So normally, if it's within the same network, I think it's free. But if it's in a different network, then you will start getting like pop-ups saying you can do this or you can't do that. So just want to show you how it looks. So once you download the application, this is basically what you will see. It will ask you to do some stuff. We can ignore all of that. Then we will basically, so if you want to give access to somebody for remote access, this is the credentials that you're going to provide. If you want to access someone else's computer, and this is where you put in. So let's say I open my TeamViewer in my other computer. So I can basically connect it with this ID. I can click on connect. As you can see, I get a pop-up. It's saying that I need a license, and I will enter the password to MEKMDXM. Hope it works. Yeah, so now you can see that this is side by side. So this is from my Mac. I can access the computer. I can do whatever I want. I can open the task manager and see what's going on and etc. And this is the view of the person, who is basically the client. This is the tech support. So that's like the most basic overview of TeamViewer. And then from here, you would do your troubleshooting and whatever you need to, figure things out. You guys will see there is a Codio exercise. So basically shows you how to download TeamViewer and get it set up. You can try doing it on the VM, but unfortunately the VM is in a different network than your own machines. So when you try to connect it with the VM, you might get some restrictions, but you can give it a try. So basically downloading TeamViewer on your computer and then try downloading the TeamViewer in the VM and then try to connect. It might not perfectly, but you might still be able to create a connection. Or if you have two computers at home in the same network, it should be as easy as mine. Yeah. Do we have any questions? Okay. Guessing no questions. Okay, now I'll pass it back to David.
That's great. Thank you very much, Rakib. Okay, so no questions about TeamViewer. TeamViewer is an amazing product, isn't it? Bear with me a second. I was just having a quick check through some of the comments that have come onto there while I share the screen. Multitasking 101 here. I can see some questions coming in there. Okay, Maljex. So Xbox Gaming Cloud is conceptually similar to remote control. Can you remote control someone else's machine from Xbox Gaming Cloud? I'm not sure I've actually had a look at that actually. I'll check. What protocol does TeamViewer use? Oh, this is fun. It uses a variety of protocols. there's a key protocol that was basically called VNC. So VNC is the main remote control protocol that is used. So you will find, if you have hunts around, there's products called real VNC, and this is really where that remote control end-to-end piece is done. Now, products such as TeamViewer expand on that, because remember, they are not just doing the remote control, so they might use a variety of protocols, because TeamViewer relies on an application being installed on each end. So those applications can use multiple protocols to talk to each other. But if you look for a product called Real VNC is the basics that basically does the sending the graphics and keyboard strokes and mouse movements across to another system. And that's the main protocol that deals with that end of things. Really good question there, Alan. I can see a couple of you typing there. Good. Okay, so what experiences have we all had with remote control systems? As I know some of you said you've used it before. Has anyone, okay, Luca's asking a really good question there. Has anybody used Chrome Remote Desktop app? Yeah, I've used it. I think it's really decent for what we need. Great simply to help people. If I'm helping my daughter or my dad, all I've got to make sure is that they're using Chrome. So there's no installation. Well, there is a small installation that needs to happen across it, but it's really good for that sort of thing. So I mean, my first experience of remote control systems was after I left Microsoft. So it was a while ago, but it was revolutionary. It's revolutionary to the help desk. As I said earlier, it was so easy basically to remote control someone's system and give them a little hand. No, you don't want to click on this button. You want to click on this button or see exactly what they're doing to give you a hand basically getting through things. I can see a couple of you typing there. Yep, someone in China used TeamViewer to solve software issues for me. Fantastic. See, that's the beauty of this. It doesn't matter where you are globally. You can basically communicate with people around the globe to easily resolve those particular problems. This kind of allowed a lot of companies to move things like their IT support desks offshores, for want of a better word. So out of the UK, out of the United States, into areas that potentially have cheaper labor. Because in reality, we didn't actually care, because if we can remote control from anywhere, then it is really simple to help solve problems. And indeed, when I was with Microsoft, we moved some of our support services across to the States. Actually, we put one in Dallas. Good stuff. But as I highlighted earlier on, it's really important that you do know the person that is remote controlling your machine. You do not give access to anyone who phones up and says, oh, just click on this link on this website to let me have access to your system. Okay, so that was a nice little exercise. Good work. So remote meetings. Okay. PlayStation Portal is closed for remote controls on Xbox. Okay. Gaming, that's gaming stuff. We'll stick away from that, Ronald, but well done. So remote meetings. We know definitely, once COVID hit and everything like that, everyone was basically having meetings from remote locations. Working from home became much more common. So it is common communications and collaboration tools that we look for now. And this is essentially all remote stuff that we use. the functions allow you basically to interact perfectly. We're using Zoom here. Okay, so I'm interacting, I'm having meetings, I'm having chats, I'm showing you presentations and bits and pieces. It does expand into the collaborative platform, which then we talk about things such as our Zoom, our Google Meets, and our Microsoft Teams. So there's a whole load of people out there with the video conferencing areas that do allow you to click and add facilities on it, and does allow you to remote control sessions as well. Does allow us to do large conferences and through the browsers. So we don't need an application installed. We can do most of this through the browser system. All our Google meeting stuff doesn't actually need an application installed. It simply runs through the browser system. Zoom. We love Zoom because it lets me do presentations from home. No, it's not just that, is it? Okay, so we know Zoom basically has released in, what was it, 2020? As a bit of it certainly became very popular in 2020. And the first thing that Zoom basically had is they had problems because it was so popular. And they had to then start restricting people's access. Because originally it was a free piece of software. And years ago, I remember using Real VNC and other products like that back to my Mac and systems like that were free as well. But there was an awful lot of free stuff that was out there. Nowadays, things become a little bit chargeable depending on what you're doing with the thing. So Microsoft Teams as well. Basically got on that bandwagon when we need to basically do Teams. We need to do meetings. I think Microsoft actually purchased Teams rather than write it themselves, but that's fair enough. That's how most software is kind of done. So they moved into Teams, and Teams allowed a mass of collaboration between it. Allows the remote control, allows the remote support, and basically allows all the remote meetings to take place. So here's a quick exercise for you. I don't need to pop into a meeting for this, but what we'll do is if you all have a little think about this, we've got an exercise here that basically says, what is the link to the meeting you're about to start in Google Meets, Zoom, or Microsoft Teams? What is the meeting password or code that is needed in case you access it? So really the question here is we're going to give you 10 minutes. We're going to get you pop off. If you have Google Meets, that's great. If you don't have it, then try Zoom. If you don't have Zoom, then try Teams. We don't want you to share those meeting links. Well, you can do. And passwords, but we obviously don't want you to start anything. So if you can all have a little think about that. And we'll come back in about 5 to 10 minutes and we'll basically have a little chat over those. Just so that we can see the differences. So I kind of want one from each of you. And I don't mind which one it is. But please don't all pick Google Meets. Because then I'm going to be silly trying to find a Zoom and a Teams one. Let's have a go at that then for a minute, shall we? I'll leave that on the screen so you can have a look. And obviously, if you have any questions about what you're doing, please do poke them into the live chat. Pick that up as well. Got another couple of minutes on this exercise, people. I can see some great stuff coming through. Beautiful screenshot, Ronald. Okay, if we all start tracking back, that'd be beautiful. Wow, it's good. I can see so many of you basically got details up there. That is amazing. So as you've discovered there, the majority of them will basically ask for, it's a link, it's a URL. You can mail that, or you can basically select participants and drop those in. So we can see we can control who gets access. We can either just send them an individual one, which means only they will get access to it, or we can send it to groups, or we can send it to a variety of people. And depending on which platform you've got, you have a variety of different security controls that you can apply. So you can have a meeting that's available to anyone who has that link. So you can share it to who you fancy. Or you can have meetings that are individual meetings that are only for those people that you need to come. Some of them, such as Zoom, might control these with things such as passwords. So if we're sending it out for only particular people to attend, we will put a password on there. Google Meets does that as well for passwords. I think, who was the Ronell? Was that Google Meets? Or was that one of the other ones? Certainly very good image, though. So you can see it is different, whichever one you want. And it's important we bear in mind the control we have, because we don't want people stepping into meetings that we shouldn't have. To paying attention to things that they shouldn't be interested in. Wow, I think most of you have basically managed to get something in there. Well, it's fantastic. Ronald, Zoom, was it? Zoom, yes. Good stuff. Okay, well, I think what we're going to do is we're going to drop into a 10-minute break now, where you can listen to some music, have a little bit of a boogie, and then we will continue on. Let's see what music we have for today. Oh, great music there. That's fantastic. Well, I hope you've all enjoyed your little break. And welcome back. We're going to start in a second. We're going to have a quick thumbs up from everyone who's back. Marcos, fastest fingers in there. Well done. Let's see who else is back from there. Come for a break, stroke, coffee, apple, banana. God, I should have had a banana, shouldn't I? Oh, it's too hot out there. Maximilian, Pardy, Paul, Sebastian, Alan, Ronell. Absolutely smashing. So we've had a little chat about, the product itself. We've had a look, quick little demo from Ragib. There are some amazing things we can do with these particular products and TeamViewer. This video here that I'm going to show you, and I want a thumbs up as soon as thumbs up as soon as I start playing it, that you can hear the audio, is with reference to something that's pretty close to Amazon. Let's kick it off then and see if we can hear this. I can see Paul Bird typing. What have you got for me, Paul? This is, are you ready to digitize your supply chain operation? Right, here we go then.
Are you ready to digitalize your supply chain operations? Market volatility, inefficient processes, and errors can hurt your bottom line. Streamline processes with augmented reality from TeamViewer Frontline. Wearables and smart glasses provide frontline workers with step-by-step instructions, helping them improve processes like order fulfillment, vision picking, and more. Plus, we collect data at the point of work and integrate it with your back-end systems to provide actionable insights. Create a digital workplace with TeamViewer and Google Cloud to improve productivity and accuracy and reduce your operational costs. Learn more at teamviewer.com. Thank you for your interest in Google Cloud and supporting our partners.
When you kind of look at that, what's the first thing that a lot of you think when you're basically seeing those images? It may never come to Germany though. It never go anywhere, to be honest with you. It's one of those things, isn't it? Very sci-fi, says Alan. Yeah. From someone who has VR, it never worked like that. Yeah, it's that sort of thing. I mean, how long ago was it when they released the Google Glasses? I know they released Google Glasses, must have been 5 years ago when they first came out. I know there's a big hoo-ha, it's going to be amazing. And they gave the idea that you could walk around London, sunny London, is a good place to add other locations, and you'd simply have little pop-ups that would say, oh, this building was where William Shakespeare was doing most of his work. This is where the Crown keeps all its jewels and all those sort of things. As part of the information, sort of a 3D information on you. Okay, so there is a lot that potentially can be done. But then when they iron things out, I can see it being really good. I've watched some videos basically for TeamViewer that have been massively relevant for engineering. So if an engineer is basically, or someone who's not an engineer is basically phoning up, putting on their glasses with their phone or something like that, and the other person can literally ring things for you. So they can go, well, this is the switch you want to basically switch in, and they can ring it, and you see a little ring around the switch, and kind of going, oh my God, that is amazing. This is the cable you want to pull out. I could see them coming into a film with that for bomb disposal or something like that. That's probably the next step, isn't it? We'll see that in the next Mission Impossible thing, won't we? Where they're ringing which cable to cut. Is that the red one? No, I just drew a red line. It's the blue one. That sort of comedy effects you could have, certainly. A lot of motion sickness, certainly, Rajek. Yes. I mean, one of those, you see so many videos online, if you're looking at the comedy videos of someone who's basically put a VR headset on, couple of handles, and all of a sudden they're smashing the telly, aren't they? Or they're falling out for a window, tripping over a child or a sofa. Not to mention the motion sickness. Yes, it is very tricky to deal with. And indeed, most of the time, people start sat down on those things without any of the motion. But then you get up and you kind of look around. It's interesting that, I mean, even products such as SharePoint now has 3D video effects. So if you do have a VR headset, you can actually dive into SharePoint, into the folders, and you can simply do the grab and move around that we've kind of seen and become so used to seeing in the movies, aren't we? But this is all great. This must be an amazing way to support people if you can. Marcus says, I used once the older version of the VR. It was good. Says, with glasses. It is fun, isn't it, with the glasses? But one thing they are getting better at is making them lighter, isn't it? The old VR headset, God, it was a heavy thing with a strap over your head. Google glasses, certainly very lighter. They're not so clouded in and something, so they're not such a total task, but they are pretty decent, aren't they, nowadays? Like a documentaries, isn't it? We are definitely getting that direction. So has anyone got any questions? I mean, we've got bags of time today. Has anyone got any questions about TeamViewer, remote support, RDP, and SSH? I mean, we know there's differences between them. And there's important differences between the two and what you can and cannot achieve with them. Okay, that's cool. I can see Marcos typing. Please feel free to type questions because, as I said, we've got plenty of time today just to chew the fat if you want. Okay, so remote meetings. We're basically just going to have a bit of a chat about some protocols and things like that you kind of have for remote meetings. We know we can have some great remote meetings. We know we can combine our calendars nowadays. I mean, I've got several different calendars that basically pop up on my system that I combined into a single calendar. When we're basically doing remote meetings, the key thing is to set things such as agendas, objectives, because it's really difficult because we're not communicating directly. I'm not popping around to a desk to someone and say, oh, can we get a meeting and we want to discuss this? So we've got to lay all that out. So to make a meeting effective or a remote meeting effective, you've got to define clear objectives. Okay, you've got to consider alternative tools that are going to save time. Do we use a whiteboard? Do we use automatic scripting that basically comes out nowadays and things such as that? And indeed, the AI stuff can now basically give you an automatic summary of your documents. So choose the right tools that we're basically going to use. Make sure the communication is plain and simple, suitable for the audience. Make sure the duration is not too long. I mean, I hope you guys, kind of enjoy the 2-hour slots that we have with the hour break, and you think that's about the right time for people. I've seen people like them shorter. I've seen people like them longer. Gone are the days with this remote support sessions or remote meetings that we all have to sit in a room from 9 to 5 and get trained and literally watch PowerPoint presentations for 7 hours and then go home thoroughly bored. Marcos was inside an ocean in a documentary. Oh, that'll probably make you sick, won't it? Definitely. And of course, we know the benefits of the screen sharing when we're in those meetings because it enhances the communications. It's easy to show someone a spreadsheet or show someone a diagram. We can have real-time interactions. We can both have a play on a whiteboard. It's going to save us money because we're not sending people on planes to basically have meetings all the time. Gets more versatility. Recordings. You obviously know there's the recordings that basically come out for us. So yeah, you can record meetings and it's good accessibility. It doesn't matter where you are. You can tend to access a lot of these meetings on any device as well. So if for example, I managed to have a meeting, strangely enough, on the way to pick up my daughter, I pulled the car over to the side of the road before anyone accuses me for driving on the phone, and literally just stopped in a lay-by, cracked my phone open and had a 50-minute meeting with a client. Fantastic. Went well. I think they were just impressed that I pulled at the side of the road and spoke to them. But there is some preparation you need to do. If you are having an online meeting, yes, prepare your content in advance. Don't be going, oh, hold on, I remember that document. Let me try and find it. Hold on, I had a picture a minute ago. Let me try and redraw it. Yes, get in advance. Use a stable and secure screen sharing platform. Okay, we know the ones we're going to use, don't we? And basically get the lighting correct. AI nowadays basically has lots of adjustments for lighting. So we can put moustaches on us. I've seen people actually turn up for Zoom meetings. Not just Zoom, Teams, Google. The AI basically integrates with all of those. And ladies, don't get me wrong, some ladies will basically turn up and you can probably see, if you watch them closely enough, that they've done something with the lighting, they've trimmed the hair, they put eyebrows. You can get AI to actually give you different shaped eyebrows, put your lipstick on. I did one with I'd say with a fake beard. I had a beard over the top of my beard, basically took all the grey out. Yeah, we can do all these sort of things to change the appearance. Can be distracting, but it kind of lets us enhance things, doesn't it? Yeah. So post remote meeting, we know it's very similar protocol to when we're actually having proper meetings. Okay, so after you've had your remote meeting, we want to basically make sure we've established the steps. Who's going to do what? An action board for a summary. So whose action is what action? When should it be done with? Is a good idea. So you can get AI to summarize it nowadays, or you can do it yourself. And we need to make sure that we conduct a follow-up email to organize potentially the next meeting that's on. When are we going to check that those action points have basically been done? How are we going to control that? And request feedback. Some people may go, well, the meeting was a waste of time for me. Okay, well, don't come to the next one. Or they may find the meeting was probably too long, too short. Different opinions. It's always worth asking people some follow-up. If it's with a client, a lot of this is going to be documented through our beautiful ticketing system and our CRM. So the crucial steps in there: summarize meeting notes, actionable items, setting clear deadlines and responsibilities, and schedule a follow-up meetings. So those are the clear guidance in those. Anyone got any real questions about meetings? Because we're kind of wrapped through this fairly quickly. You know, we've had some intelligent stuff that's come through. We've seen Red Gib has basically done a good demo of TeamViewer, which was really nice. So you can all go out and play with the free version if you want to get yourself a little bit of experience. We know we can RDP and SSH between sessions. And indeed, I use a product called Oracle VirtualBox to run my virtual machines. So you can happily set up 2 VMs and basically have a little play between each other. Gosh, we have whipped through this, haven't we? So that kind of brings us pretty much down to the conclusion of things. So we are free to chat about anything. I'm going to run through these conclusions while you guys think of some questions. So in this lesson, we basically chatted about why remote access and how great it is. It lets a lot of us work from different locations. We have a team that basically worked from New Zealand that looked at after a lot of our servers for a white label dating company. We looked at a few of the tools that are available. No means an exhausted list that I give you, because there's lots of them out there. A lot of them will integrate with our ticketing and our support systems. We spoke about some best practices for remote meetings. And we spoke about some ethical guidelines. Remember, you are jumping into people's systems. If you're jumping into people's systems, you have to be really careful about what you do on those and what you change. It's always a good idea to basically let them know what you're doing and get an agreement before you change anything. Otherwise, you run the risk of, why have you done that, and it coming back on you. And we spoke a bit about meetings. Okay, we spoke a little bit about meetings and things like that in terms of how we need to set those up and what we need to take away from those meetings. So preparation is key for those, as well as reporting and emailing afterwards to make sure that everyone understands the results from those meetings. So whether or not they're remote meetings or local meetings. Jack says he's going to try and join the next lecture from his VR. If he does, I'm going to stand here like that. And just see how long you cope with that, Jack. It's a beautiful idea. I love it. Okay, well, literally, wow, we have shot through that. Has anyone got any questions? I mean, we can throw it open, not just to this session, but all the topics that we've covered before. Of course, I don't know if we want to get the poll out the way first, and then we can kind of hang around, and then we can let people drift off if they don't want to stay in chat. How about that for a plan, Ahmed?
Yeah, that could work, definitely.
Okay, I'm going to shut that. Stop the share. Let's get the poll going. I'll hand you back to Ahmed for a second then.
All right, let me start the Zoom poll, everyone. All right, it's on right now. And as usual, while you guys doing it, and just I will iterate the reminders set today by the assignment. We have assignment for Lab 7. It's gonna be July 4th. It's about today's content. And again, about the support system. If you need any help with the content or troubleshooting, reach out to your TA. Or if you need any career guidance or coaching, also reach out to your CSC. And yeah, those are the reminders. David, do you think we should leave the poll the whole time? Or is that too much?
No, I mean, I guess when everyone's kind of filled out the poll, I guess we should get 100% completion on that poll, shouldn't we?
Mm-hmm. And then we leave it out for questions, yeah?
Yeah, that's good. I mean, I'm happy to hang around to answer questions generally. We knew this would be a short session. As to how short it was another question. Yes, I mean, we flew through some of that and it was really good. So we kind of throw it open for questions generally about everything. I'm happy to talk about, I mean, I kind of flicked a couple of AI things in there. Happy to mention a few things about AI. If we want to, what's next for future meetings? I guess meetings will eventually, I mean, you kind of dream the future IT, don't you? Meetings will eventually get involved and integrated a lot more with AI. Holograms, I could see holograms coming in, but they could be a bit VR headsets. I think we are still very much, if you look at the main computer industry, we still have this idea of the interface, don't we? We have a monitor on our desk. How many years have we had monitors on our desks? How likely is that to change? Probably not. We have an interface that's a keyboard that we're all pretty familiar with and a mouse. Will there be a revolution where we change that? Could come around. Probably over the next 20 years, the way we integrate and the way we connect to systems might well change. I'm not saying we're going to get neural paths, but certainly we're going to get a lot more for home use. You're going to get a lot more voice activations, but you can't do it in a workplace. Imagine sitting in a workplace where you've got 50 desks around and everyone's trying to talk to their computer, basically to get their computer to do a particular thing. So I say, well, open my Google desktops, and all of a sudden everyone's Google desktop opens because they can hear it. So, you know, we're going to still struggle to do some of that stuff. Holograms would be great. Future of meetings. I think we're going to get more tools, more integrated collaboration tools basically become available within meetings. We already have AI that produces scripts. If you look at Zoom, there are options within Zoom to basically do things such as closed captions, which means that on the fly, it will happily translate the language. So I know they do things such as Indonesian, Spanish, Italian. So it does allow us to basically change the language on the fly so that everyone can understand no matter what language they basically speak. Well, I say understand. Some of the translations are a bit funky still, but they are very entertaining. I think in terms of remote access, if we deal with remote access to servers and things such as that, yeah, we know it's all going cloud-based. We will do an awful lot more through essentially our browser. Our operating system will become less important, and our browser will become king. Products like HP Green Lakes is out there, and that basically allows you to manage servers simply through a browser interface. We did a lot of stuff with things such as Pixie Boots. I don't know how much. Oh, okay, let's go into this. So accessing and controlling systems remotely will drop onto a separate network infrastructure through what's known as ILO ports on HP systems. They're already doing it anyway. So that means if I want to remotely control a server, I won't use RDP to basically connect through. I will connect through the ILO port, which essentially is a network port. Don't let HP hear you say that I said that. Basically, a network port that connects through to essentially a separate chip that's on the system, and that separate chip can then manipulate the operating system. It can change the configurations of the system. Okay, so I won't be using RDP, I won't be using SSH, I'll simply be dropping on through things like that. So there is a lot of stuff out there that could well be happening. Good questions. Let me ask a question for the chat. What would you like to see happening for meetings? We've had holograms. What about the old-fashioned one? Smelly Vision was one, wasn't it? That was one that came around. I'm sure that was a Benny Hill sketch more than anything else. Definitely improvement with translation tools. Good. They are getting better and better. The more that we work with those translation tools, the better they're getting, aren't they? Better connectivity. We know the internet is yes, we are demanding more from the internet. But I, for one, think that the speeds that we're getting from the internet are increasing faster than our demand is, certainly for some of this stuff. If you were looking at this sort of thing 20 years ago, the concept of having this much data chucked down the line 20 years ago with the pipes that we used to have was absolutely crazy. Now our technology is so that we are compressing the data a lot more. Our pipes are bigger. So most of us run on fiber channels, on fiber lines. I don't know how many of you end up with more than 600. I've got more than 600 here. And the business pipes are becoming cheaper. So I think the amount of data that we're trying to slow down those lines is expanding slower than the lines is actually expanding. So we're going to get to a stage where we're going to go, yeah, actually we've got shed loads of bandwidth. Let's do loads of fun things with it. What about touch systems across connectivities? Oh, I want little shot tanks at times. Play shot games across the internet with each other. That's good. Okay, has anyone else got any more questions? I mean, obviously at this stage, once you've completed your poll, you can feel free to drop off of the meeting. Because we're kind of done and dusted. We're now chewing the fat with anyone who wants to chew the fat.